Society Sound Popcast.
Well, shit, bro. Thank you for being here.
First of all, for having me.
And it's really fucking cool to have you here, for real. Because for me, it's like, you know, bro, I don't even know if you know this, but like you gave me a really big start, you know, when I came from interning with Phil and they hired me over at Triangle to do those few little days. And you took a liking to me and it was like, no, keep this guy. And I feel like that was really cool because it's like I needed a home. Yeah. You know, I needed a home at that stage. But I know how much you hate fucking dealing with interns, so that was really cool to just like get in your good graces.
Well, that was just a weird situation for me right then because everybody was still in LA. Tricky was still at the studio out there, and he had flown everybody out. But then he had booked a bunch of sessions with Future, so he needed somebody to go back to kind of take care of the studio. So I'm there by myself, and I was like, I have to hire interns now, and like,
oh yeah. So you had went back to LA. Well, you had went to LA originally.
Yeah.
To rock with Tricky. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, yo, I need somebody over there.
Yeah. He was like, Future's booked like a month. Like, I need somebody to go do these sessions. So I'm like there by myself, and I was like, you realize we have no interns or anything here anymore.
So how many interns did you go through before you found the great Brian Ansel?
I think you were the third one. But
okay.
The two before you was like one night apiece, and I was like, no, we're good.
That's really cool. I think it was like Wayne Brady sessions, the first kind of like set of whatever. Okay. And I thought that was really cool because, you know, I used to watch, what was that line? Whose line is it? Was it the show? Whose line is it anyway? Mm-hmm. And I used to really like that. So that was really cool. And, you know, ever since then, you've been like a mentor to me, for real. Because he's like, you know, just really, even this is my favorite one. This is my favorite Ken Oriole bar. Is like, you don't want to have any holes in your learning curve. And so when you said that to me, I was like, oh, okay, you gotta go through the steps. Like, you know how when you first come out of school, you want to already be a mastering engineer, damn near. You know, you want to already like know all of the stuff. And it's like, no, take your time, go through all of the assistant positions, maybe even a tech position, and then be a recording engineer, graduate, keep graduating.
And I realized from time of being in the industry and going through so many different interns and assistants that it's not on the kids thinking that way. It's because it's like there's so many recording programs at every school now. Like, they're really marketing to compete with each other. So they're selling it to you as like, come to Full Sail or come to Berkeley and leave as an engineer. So they're teaching you that when you graduate, you're an engineer. So you're too young to know better. Like, so you believe that. But then you get in the industry, and at some point, you have to realize it's like, oh no, I'm still just an operator. I haven't learned how to engineer yet. I just know how to operate the gear. And there's a big difference. And I think the people that make it understand that. And the people that never clicks, like they're just too stubborn. They think they're an engineer, so they're not as willing to learn.
Yeah, for sure. And then I remember asking you, like, how important you think it is to go to school. So it's like a dichotomy. So it's like you have to go to school, because I remember you saying like, well, these days things just move so fast. You know, an album gets recorded in a month or whatever. It's like I don't have time to teach you all of the things, like kind of like how some of the greats came up learning through just other greats, you know, from the people before them. But what's your take on that still?
Still kind of the same. I get the path of not doing it and the path of doing it. It definitely helps to do it because it's a lot easier for me to work with interns and assistants that I'm not having to train on like every step of Pro Tools or something. Like if I ask something to be routed, they already kind of know what they're doing. They may not know why I'm doing it that way, but they know how to at least set up a session.
Right.
And like you kind of these days you need that jump start.
Uh-huh.
Because you go in and you're interning. Well, not even, I guess, an intern, but when you start assisting and it's like the other assistant has that much ahead of you, it's like they're going to get more opportunities.
What do you mean by that?
Like, if you come in, like, not schooled or not knowing any DAWs or Pro Tools, it's like, you know, it's like the other person's going to get it done quicker. So they're going to lean towards the other assistant that knows how to route something.
Got you. Or the other
Like,
intern. Like if it's two interns coming in at the same time, but one intern took the time to read the Pro Tools manual, even that Pro Tools 101 or whatever, even though it's boring, you might be, you know, a little bit more ahead than the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it helps because I've also noticed, like, later through my career, you get so caught in a workflow too that it's like, you know, like I try to keep up with some of the new features that come out with Pro Tools and other things, but you know, I obviously miss a lot because I'm busy in my workflow, and I pick up so many new features from like assistants because I jump around so many studios, and like sometimes it's gonna be like, hey, why are you doing that? Why don't you do this? And I was like, that didn't used to be a feature.
Yeah.
Because you used to have to do it this way.
You have to. Yeah.
So I do pick up a lot of new things from the young guys, for sure.
Yeah. When I was traveling a lot, that was one of my favorite parts too. Because I remember some dealing with other engineers that had like this kind of like stuck up kind of vibe to them. And they just like, and it's like, damn, you know, like, you could be talking to this young guy that's probably getting hip to, you know, these days they're probably doing fucking AI shit already, you know what I mean? And they're like, that's gonna be the new wave of engineers. And it's like, yo, you made that beat, and like making a beat in AI these days is probably the easiest thing right now.
Yeah,
if you know how to get to it pretty easily or whatever, you know, bro. I want people to know about you a little bit more, and I think like you have so many cool like things that have happened to you throughout your career, but for me personally, it was when you got nominated for Album of the Year. And the part of why that's so cool is because one, like out of all of the engineers that I know, and all of my homies, respect to a lot of my homie engineers, but you are like the most deserving in that way because you are a real engineer and not an operator, like you were just saying, right? And that's one of the things that like I've always just admired about you, for one, but then two, it's like the highest honor. It's not like you just, you know, you had already been nominated before to other Grammys, but this is like the creme de la creme, you know what I'm saying? Album of the Year. And then secondly, the other, or maybe third at this point, it was the background, like how you landed it. When we spoke about it briefly, you were telling me the story. So like, how did that happen again? Like, I think you was in New York.
Okay, yeah. So this is for the Jon Batiste.
Yeah, and this is for Jon Batiste. We are.
Yeah. So the timing was all right for it. So I used to work at this one studio called Flux a lot, and Jon had originally recorded this album, like all his older album, like a jazz album, like, you know, tracked everything live, and then, you know, not to a click, and then he decided that he wanted to make it a more pop album, so he wanted to rearrange a lot of stuff, and his engineer that does all the jazz stuff is just really kind of old school tape console guy, so he's like, oh, you got to get somebody else to edit, like one of these pop or hip hop engineers, you know, to do all these edits, and he went through a couple engineers, and they were just younger guys, and were like, oh, you can't edit and fly this because it's not to a click. And then the studio that they were at the end there, they were like, you know what? Actually, you guys should try calling this dude Ken. Like, him and Dre work without a click all the time, and they rearrange. So it's just, you just got to use your ears and rearrange. So that's how I ended up getting on that process with that album. And so just because he was almost ready to re-record everything, because thinking that that's what he had to do. And I was like, no, we can edit this.
That's what I remember. I remember feeling like, or maybe you had told me the story before. I don't know, but I remember feeling like Ken saved the day. Ken literally saved the day and got this man album of the year, basically. And it's just like how we keep
Crucial.
or there's a movement going on. I'm gonna call it that more and more people, usually radio people, are the ones that go, I know that y'all think that the artist is the one carrying this whole shit, but it's really the engineers. The engineers are the unsung heroes, et cetera. So, but anyway, that's really cool, man. Like how you just came in and was like, nah, I got this. Like what was it about that process that was so easy to you or came so natural to you?
Well, I had already been working that way with Dre, because he got tired of everything just being such a locked loop and just not having a feel to it. So we were already working, off of a click, not off of loops. Like even like on some of the drum machine stuff he would play the drum machine down the whole song.
Wow.
Like live instead of just looping it.
That's hard.
Wow. What a guy.
Yeah, that's hard.
So
Okay.
it's like I was kind of prepared for that moment because I had already started working that way. But what got me to being able to do it really, I believe, is that kind of how what I feel like the engineering position should be. Like, to me, it's like I shouldn't impede the creative processes anyway. I should only help it. So it's like if they want to do something that's untraditional or figure out how to do something, it's like I have to figure out how to make that work instead of just being like, no, you have to do it this way, because then you're impeding the creativity. And it's like I never want to be that. So even if I don't know it, I'm like, we'll figure it out. Let me think about it. There's got to be a way to do it this way.
So at that point, did he have the whole album done?
He had it was mostly pretty much like the core of the album was recorded down, and then we were just going through and editing.
That's still fucking sick.
Yeah, except for vocals. We kind of finished the vocals after figuring out what the exact arrangements were going to be in each song,
And then so after that, now you're just Jon Batiste, like go-to guy.
I mean, I'd love to work with him more, but it's honestly, I got so caught up on New Blue Sun for the last 2.5 years, really, that I wasn't really able to work on his last album much. But we've been talking, and we're definitely trying to be in the studio together a little more often.
That's really cool how you just said that, man. Like you just try to help the creative process, and
Yeah.
I think that's what makes you like who you are, bro. Like just what I've always seen, even from the Tricky days, when you were just so like, cool. What is it that y'all need? Yeah, like just something impossible for real, and then you just make it happen. And would you say that the days with Tricky were kind of like a big break for you, or did you already have something before that landed you that gig?
I mean, I had already met Andre at that point and was doing stuff with him, but my years with Tricky were definitely a big part of my career, because I went from a very like doing a lot of indie rock bands and stuff and very indie workflow to this pop system, which was just a whole new way of working for me. And because it was just about, I guess it's kind of like there's almost some parts of that process that are almost assembly line-ish, like everything's moving so fast, like, and
Compared to the indie rock stuff.
yeah, where it's like you're sitting there and kind of taking your time and figuring things out instead of just creating. Like Tricky, like produces pretty fast, but then you get like Dream that's an insanely fast writer, and you have to keep up with that,
Right.
So it definitely taught me a lot of things in that world. So,
Yeah. And your position there was like when I met you, you were like chief engineer of like the studio kind of thing, or you're like tech.
I started as the studio tech with him, and then I guess I was really, until like the end there, I was really like the second engineer, because B Love was always engineer number one. So.
Right. That's such a cool thing, bro. Like to even have that position, because we don't have that no more. Like maybe in LA and maybe in New York, you have like studio techs. Like I can imagine like Electric Lady having a studio tech, and then maybe like Encore, but the other than here in Atlanta, I don't think there's like a dedicated studio tech. There's probably like the position that you can like move around, and just kind of like jump around to different studios.
There's not, and like I jump around to a lot of studios, and it's generally not a position. It's like they'll hire in somebody to fix something when it needs to be fixed, or send something out to get fixed. But like an in-house like salary studio tech is pretty rare. Electric Lady definitely still has one, and Village Studios in LA does, and it makes a difference. Like you notice how much better their studio condition of their gear is.
Yeah.
It definitely makes a difference.
Yeah, for sure, man.
I think Blackbird does in Nashville as well.
Yeah, I would imagine they do. I haven't worked there, but
yeah, but
I would like to believe that they probably do.
Yeah, it really does make a difference, man. And I remember one of the coolest things that I heard was I think I talked about this before, but the internship program at Westlake, I believe it's Westlake, in LA. Like you have to intern just for like 3 months, like answering just the door, and then you can go on runs, and then you can intern with the tech, and you have to do like 6 months of that, and then you can intern for the studios, like the studio rooms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like for like clients and sessions. And then you become an assistant. Isn't that cool? That's like rigorous.
Sounds like 2 years or something.
2 years of like going through like really learning this shit,
Yeah, I haven't heard of that, but yeah, I'm not mad at it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's it's almost like going like the doctor route where you got to do a residency for a long time.
Exactly. And that goes back to that whole thing that you told me, bro, that stuck with me so heavily. Like, okay, just like all of those times where you go, like, you want to just hurry up and be the next thing. Like, I want to hurry up and, like, for me, it was like getting a new engineer position, or being an engineer for like a major artist,
Yeah.
And when it came to me, it was like right timing. It's because I had already done all of the steps. I had already gone through some certain ringers of whatever, and then not just like jump straight into being such and such engineer. And then really you get stuck with this like operator position for real, because you like manage to like find this workflow, like a certain workflow, and then that's it. Like that, you just stick with that.
Yeah. And it's different because it's I mean, everybody's got their own path, and they got to find what works for them, because it's like there are situations where you get thrown in, but it's generally with like a younger producer or an artist that hasn't really quite made it yet. So you see that a lot of times. It's like, the engineer and the artist will grow together and figure things out as they're going together, and that works. Mm-hmm. But then there's also kind of, I think, more what you're talking about, where it's somebody thinks they're ready to engineer and they take a seat, and you don't necessarily kill the job, so you're not going to get the call back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're hurting yourself in the long run by jumping into something that you weren't prepared for yet.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember when Tricky came to Atlanta one time, and I was still an assistant, but I just caught that one little chance where I just felt like, okay, this is my chance to like maybe see what's up. And so he sat, and it was like late night. He had already had a long day, but he sat next to me in the lounge at Triangle over at the front. And I was already just sitting there, and I was like, hey, yo, Tricky, when you gonna let me jump on the ones and twos? And he was like, oh, yeah? And then, and then, yeah, like a week later, he like calls me in for a session. And then that was cool because I was able to keep up, but I was definitely still at a stage where I needed a little bit more experience to like really kill it there. So I killed it for a little bit, like I faked the funk pretty much, but really I needed just a little bit more like information. And I feel like now I would kill it, but now I don't want to do it.
Yeah, Tricky's always been that way though. He's if you say you're ready for something, he'll give you the chance. He'll make you prove it. He'll put you in the hot seat, make you prove it.
That's what it is. Yeah.
He'll be like, oh, you think you're ready? Let's see.
Exactly.
And because even like I said, I started out really just as a studio tech, and the first time I did a session with him, he had always been produced in sequence from an MPC, and he really wanted to start trying to produce in Logic. So like I happened to be in the room, and he was like, man, I kind of wish somebody here knew Logic. And I was like, I know Logic. And he was like, all right, get in the seat. He was like, prove it.
Yeah. There's so many cool things about Tricky, man. Like those little things are like things to learn from. Like if you want to be a producer, because this is really like leadership, right? It's the leadership part of the way he teaches, the way he allows you to learn is maybe what I would say.
No.
Right?
Better said, yeah. Right.
Yeah. Where he allows you to just like, okay, cool, jump in there. But it's also good for him too, because then he gets to the answer quick.
Yeah.
Instead
he wants to know where you're at.
He wants to know where you're at quick.
Yeah.
Instead of like, okay, we'll teach you here, or we'll go and do this with Ken for a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you had that studio popping. That studio is still one of my favorites. For a long time, I was like, I'm gonna buy this studio one day. And maybe I will, you know what I'm saying? Tricky, what's up? I got an offer, maybe.
But that's another thing that has definitely helped me with the tech background and being an engineer is like, I installed and wired all those rooms, like all the boards, the monitor, everything.
Weren't you there when before they had like the renovation?
Right
like the
before
big...
they did that last renovation. So I wired the whole studio. So it's like, so then when somebody's like trying to manipulate the sound in a certain way, I have an extremely good understanding of how everything is routed. So I'm like, okay, so we can do this and this to kind of do this and, kind of manipulate, the setup to use it in maybe not a necessarily traditional way,
Right.
So it's, it just like helps you manipulate your workflow the more you understand the wiring. And I think a lot of the kids now, it's like, they try to skip that. Like they don't really understand the signal flow because they're so in the box that when they get to that world, it's like they don't understand it enough to manipulate it.
Yeah, and this is gonna be even crazier. A thought that I had recently was that like I think there's a fad now, and you can tell me what you think about this, because I don't know if you do or not, but there's like this wave of people that just record on that carry their own gear, but I'm talking not just the laptop. That's not what I mean. That's fine, but when you carry around your own like mic pre, your own mic, your own thing, and it's just like I feel like that almost it's not the same level of engineering as like just pulling up and making it work with whatever the studio's got.
Well, I think a lot of that is it's the lack of really knowing all the gear, so it's like they know how to work in that workflow.
Exactly.
Like you throw something else in there, like they don't truly understand the patch bay at the studio, which is fine too, because it's like some studios are wired weird, and it's and that's where I expect the assistants in those rooms to know the wiring very well.
Yeah.
Because then I need to know it's like, oh, like don't use this channel because the EQ doesn't work. Like when the assistant knows the board to that level, I love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, but yeah, I hate seeing that setup you're talking about when I go in the studios, and I see it all the time where it's like you'll have this brilliant like Neve 80 series console, and they just got a board up over the faders with a laptop and an Apollo Twin with a mic plug straight into it. And I'm like,
ouch.
Why? Like you got so much gear here. Why would you do that?
Yeah, and that was a very recent thought that I had. I was just like, oh, like I feel like it's like it's cool in a sense of like if you've had a microphone for a very long time
Yeah.
and you know it and you love it, or even like a mic pre, or you just, whatever,
Yeah.
like maybe, but I'm more so gravitating towards the people that need to go through like more hiccups
Yeah.
in their workflow, and more, because that is what engineering is, right? It's
Yeah.
like troubleshooting. How fast can you troubleshoot, and how creative can you be at the troubleshooting to make whatever where you were saying, serving the creatives in the room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How fast can you get to that, and get to the, so that we can all just be creative?
Yeah, and I get to because I generally, when I'm at a studio, it's like I use my computer, but I'm patched into the entire studio. Like I'm literally just replacing their computer. So, which has gotten easier to do these days. So, and that helps because there's just a bazillion plugins or software synths that I don't have to install every time and then remember to unauthorize.
Sure.
Like I'm just running off my machine. But I'm like, when I go to the studio, I'm patched into their full HDIO. I'm patched all the way into their, I'm literally only replacing their computer.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, and now
And that's a different story.
and it's gotten easier because now, especially with most studios being on like the Mac Studio stuff, so like all their HD cards are going to be in a chassis. So you're really just thunderbolting in, connecting all the USB hubs, and then you're literally just replacing their CPU, really.
Yeah.
And but even before that, like when I was traveling with Tricky in the Tricky days, and it was everybody still on the big Mac towers, whether it was the early days of it was like the G5s, and then the Mac Pro Intels. But what I started doing there, because of plugins and Tricky had so many random software synths he would like to use, is I used to just travel with a hard drive sled, and I would just pop in my own hard drive and boot to it and plug in my own iLogs.
What's a hard drive sled?
Like in the old towers, like you had the 4 sleds
Oh,
that you
okay.
slide in. So I would just
Right.
boot off of my own hard drive at whatever studio we went to.
So at that time, the whole rig would be like 1 terabyte.
Yeah.
Like four drives to make
I
up
would
1
just put
terabyte.
I would just put in, my own boot drive. So I'm booting to my own OS with my own settings, my own plugins, all my soft synths are there.
That's crazy.
And it was just easier that way.
I just heard you say boot, and I'm just triggered right now. This damn computer next door. Nah, cool, man. Yeah. What's man, tell us like about like one of like a crazy situation that you went through, or like a crazy session, or something that like I don't know, like that happened and it was just for the history books,
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. I'm always trying to move forward to the next project. I'm trying to think. I'm like, I can't think of anything too crazy.
Okay, I can remember.
Yeah.
I can remember one that, like, kind of. I remember it was like when you was recording Andre, I think, at his house, and something to do with the way you saved the Frank Ocean joint. See, Ken is always just saving the fucking day. What?
Save your day, Ken.
Save the day, Ken.
Coined it.
Hey, switch his Instagram handle to that.
No cap.
You should. Hey, that'd be cool. Save the day, Ken.
I don't remember what you're talking about on the.
No, it was like a guitar thing. He was laying down guitars on the Frank Ocean joint. I don't know. I don't remember it either. I don't remember. But I just remember it being a cool story
Oh,
of just the actual session. You know?
I think a better question is, have you ever had a terrible day? Maybe everything just went to shit and everybody just like, all right, fuck it, let's go home. Or that just didn't happen with you.
no, everybody's had their rough sessions.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you
there's
remember
definitely
any?
been some moments with Tricky and Dream where it's just like you're just not having your greatest day,
Oof.
and they will call you up, like right off the bat, and but then and that's part of the learning curve too, because then you get more confident and you learn to stay calm, because it's like if they get you rattled, like it's almost like you can't dig yourself out of it. Once you're rattled, you're just constantly fucking up, and you're like, okay, I need to hit the reset button somehow. Like let me go get some food somewhere and reset.
Yeah, because, well, with those guys, it's like everything is nice and dandy until they're in that mode.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's go time. It's
Yeah.
go time, and everybody better be on their fucking shit. So, yeah. I remember the pressures of that.
Yeah, and everybody's had their off days, you know? So, yeah, those aren't the greatest, but Phil, you just got to learn from them. Like, as long as you're growing from all those moments.
That's good.
So,
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. Do you feel like you're still going through any of those now, or
I mean, in a way, not in the same way, but yeah, I mean, I'm constantly learning from sessions, especially like when you work with different people, let's say people who are used to doing things in very different ways. And I think part of it is just from experience, like I'm able to kind of feel out, okay, this is kind of how he likes to work. And then even just being confident, even instead of just doing something, even like just sitting and talking with the artist and be like, hey, you know, how do you usually like to do this? Like, or even like asking them, it's like, how do you like your headphone mixes the sound? And just, you know, not being scared to just ask all the questions to make them as comfortable as possible.
right? Because these days you're dealing with even more artists that are more like more than just vocalists,
Yeah.
right? You're dealing with real musicians.
Yeah, I do a lot
You know?
of real like acoustic instruments, which I love doing. So it's like, yeah, not just because I think there's a lot of people working like the beat, the music will be all such in the box production, and then just recording vocals to a 2-track.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But this is most of the guys I work with. It's because I have a lot of expertise at recording instruments.
Mm-hmm.
So there's challenges to it because you have to understand that process too. So you want everybody to be comfortable with their mixes, and just certain things like, you know, you have a whole band tracking together. It's like somebody might want the click, but somebody might not. So it's like just getting everybody's mix comfortable so that they give you the best performance. Because if they're not hearing it well, they're not going to perform well.
Exactly. And you see, that's just a whole nother level of like engineering, of like being a recording and a tracking engineer that like you just don't see a lot of, you know, not in this hip of a way, because you're still so bro, I mean, you just got nominated for another Grammy, you know, with the New Blue Sun.
Yeah, now is very much all analog. So,
That's sick. And you recorded and mixed that.
yes.
That's sick, bro.
But yeah, it's
did it take a lot for Andre to give you that project to mix, or was it pretty much like,
well, I'll say we mixed it together. And I knew, because we spent a lot of time tracking and even just getting like the rough mixes right. And then when we thought about sending it out to mix, we ended up sitting down and having a conversation, and I was like, I think we should just do it instead of sending it out, because it's like you already know where you want to take this. And it's like, so it was definitely like me, him, and Carlos mixing it together. So like, I'm the mix engineer, but they're very, very involved in the mix.
got you? Who's Carlos?
He's the other producer on New Blue Sun.
Ah,
so
okay.
Andre and Carlos were the two producers for the project.
Word. Okay. And then so once you said that, he was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, let's just mix it. Let's
And we
just mix it
spent the
in house.
time. Yeah. So yeah, when we meticulously went through it. So it took a while, but I think it was worth it.
What was that moment like, bro? When Andre finally, well, he just shows up one day and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna record flute. I'm gonna record this flute. He shows up with a flute.
Actually, it's actually the last song on the album, but that was the first song we recorded. And I show up to the studio. I have no idea what we're working on yet. And he shows up with a bunch of musicians, and they all just start setting up. And while they're all setting up, they just start kind of playing. So I was like, huh, they're already playing. I don't know what I'm miking up yet. So I had the assistant studio. I was like, all right, go ahead and just record ARM, 32 tracks in Pro Tools, mute them all, and hit record. And then I went in and set up and mic'd things up while they were already just kind of warming up on the instruments and playing. And that first moment we captured was the last song on the album. And it wouldn't have been captured if I didn't do that.
You see?
God.
You see what I'm talking
So
about? It's another
disgusting.
level. Leave. Everybody just fucking leave.
The crazy thing on that is like, so you can hear, because he's playing the Roland Aerophone on that, the digital flute.
Okay.
And I've never seen one in my life before that. And it's got a DI, but he's already playing. So it's like, I can't plug it in. But it has a little tiny speaker on it. So I just threw a mic in front of that speaker. So that's why you can hear all the button clicks.
I
That's what
do
those
hear
clicks
that.
are, yeah.
I do hear that. On that one,
Because
heavier
that
than
one's-
the other stuff.
Yeah, because that one was never DI'd. I literally just mic'd the little computer speaker that's built into the Roland.
That's
And that's why
outta
it
here.
sounds the way it sounds.
Right. Damn. Now I can't wait to go back and listen to that.
Yeah, right.
What?
But that's the button clicks that you're hearing.
Right.
Yeah. Man.
Well, why didn't he re-record that? Did
You
he?
can't. These are all just such organic moments. Like,
Okay.
you can't recreate that, you know?
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
like, and I just had the awareness. I was like, I can't let this moment not get captured. So
Is that how he is with his raps too, or was with his raps? Where like as soon as if he already recorded it, that's it.
no, he's more old school on it because he didn't have the opportunity to sit there and record all the time, you know, when he was coming up and doing it. So it's he meticulously writes and writes and writes, and then when he's got it written and ready, then he'll go record it.
Yeah, I remember assisting you guys for like a week or so. Maybe it wasn't that long, but
Oh, for the future verse, right?
it was that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember but at that time I was still assisting at Triangle. But I just remember him doing the verse, the 16 bars, like over and over again. Like he probably did it 300 times. Maybe I'm exaggerating, but
3,000 times.
Yeah, no, he's just he's really meticulous at it, and it's like he uses his voice in so many different ways. Like you notice he is enunciating things slightly different. But it was another thing with comfort with him. Longer I worked, it's like, you know, because he'll just go infinitely, but at some point I just have to be like, hey, let's just take a lunch break or a dinner break and listen through what we have. Just so he doesn't start overthinking it, you know, because we may already have the take. It's hard to tell listening through cans while you're doing it, you know. So just knowing to be like, hey, let's listen to what we got so far.
damn.
And just slow it down a little bit, you know.
Damn. So you guys, you've gotten to that point where you're able to, where he trusts you to as that kind of like coach in his corner to be like, okay, coach said, let me take a break. You know,
I
not
wouldn't
necessarily coach because, you know.
Yeah. No, because he's very, very self-producing.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, it's his decision, and he's gonna make the right decision for him.
Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes it's just like you get so caught up in just doing something over and over and over. It's like you do need somebody else to be like, hey, let's just take a 5.
That's sick.
Like, you know.
That's part of the like the what I've always called like being kind of like a therapist kind of
Yeah.
for the artist, because like whatever it is that they might be going through, you have to put in a little bit extra.
Yeah.
You know, is not just pressing buttons and recording stuff, right? It's like a little bit more of like being a friend whenever they need it, and then being a therapist or being a brother or being just, you know, just basically just being there.
It's almost like, to me, it's almost like it's like vibe management. So it's like I've run, and this is something that I learned in my earlier, like doing a lot of rock and roll bands. Like a big similar thing to this would be like guitar players all the time. It's like, if you let them go, they will play that guitar solo a million times, and it's never going to be good enough for them. You know, like real guitar players are really meticulous with their solos. So it's like, yeah, sometimes you just got to stop and be like, could you start to overthink it? And you need to be like, hey, let's
Right.
just listen to what we got. Let's see what we have.
Right. Well, when you started with indie rock stuff, were you recording them? Were you recording stuff, or were you playing?
Well, it started out playing early, but recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even think I've ever asked you that, bro. Like, how did you even get into this whole, like, how did you go, okay, let me go to Full Sail now?
I actually started playing in bands in, I guess, right early high school. Started forming, our first couple bands, playing in a lot of punk bands, and I got a 4-track recorder, little cassette 4-track recorder, just to record our little demos for us. And then I realized that I loved the recording process, so then I started recording all the other local bands on it. And then when my last band broke up, and I realized, I was like, you know what? I'm a mediocre musician, but I'm a really good engineer. I'd rather work, like, I need to chase that instead of trying to chase being in a band. So I was fortunate to, like, realize that pretty early on, that I'm a better engineer than a bass player.
Ah, you were playing bass.
Yes.
Where was this?
This was in South Georgia.
South Georgia.
Yeah. It was
Oh,
like
okay.
when I moved in high school, I went to school down in Albany, Georgia. So there was not much to do. So that was another reason we all fell in music so hard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And were y'all checking out, like, different shows? Like, would different bands, like, bands that were already popping, would they make it out there?
No, you usually have to drive up to Atlanta for those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, but you grew up basically in South Georgia and Atlanta.
Well, South Georgia I moved there, late middle school, early middle school. So all of,
Okay.
like, middle school and high school in South Georgia.
Okay, right. But you was born in Korea?
I was born in Korea and didn't move to the States till I was 10.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Word. That's funny because me and Esco be talking about this where, like, I don't know what it is, but for Latinos, if you move here around that, like, 10 mark, you end up still very much immigrant. Like, you still, like, you don't learn you don't get the accent down right in English. But if you're, like, right there, like, right before, like, right before 9, you're good. But for you, I don't know. For you, I don't hear that at all. I don't see it.
I'd imagine it's some kind of discipline level that Latinos versus
Well, I think it's different
families.
for me too, because I come from a mixed family. Like, my dad's American.
Oh,
My mom's
okay.
Korean.
There you
so
go.
it's like I had a lot of the American culture wasn't new to me when I moved here. Like, I already understood it. And, we would
Got
spend
you.
every Christmas in New York with my grandma.
Before fully moving here.
Yeah. So
Before-
I think that's the
Oh,
big
wow.
difference for me.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So you might as well have moved here at 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh, that's cool, man. That's really cool. So then after you realize, like, okay, I'm a better recording engineer than a bass player, then you just decide I'm gonna go to Full Sail. And
that actually became kind of a compromise between me and my mom.
Oh,
Because
really?
I wanted to just kind of jump into it and try to get internships, but she wanted me to get a degree, so that was kind of the compromise. So I was like, okay, I'll go get a degree.
Yeah. That's cool.
Was mom right?
Yes, I think it helped. Yeah. It didn't hurt. So, and who knows? I may have made it without it, but this way obviously worked, so I'm not going to overthink that,
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like back then, I feel like even when you went, it was like less hype.
Yeah.
It just like, because you probably went in what, like 03?
I went in 04.
04.
Yeah.
04. Yeah. And then I just feel like towards the end of that decade, the shit just ramped the fuck up. And it's that thing that you're talking about where like, you know, they promote it like you can be an engineer tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know? But back then I still feel like, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it felt like a little bit more homegrown.
I think it just wasn't like, well, because even for me, I didn't even realize that it was an option. Like, I didn't even think about, like, engineering for a living as an option until one of my bands went in a real studio. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is a thing that I could do.
Oh, okay. And you went with them?
Yeah,
Like,
well, just being in a real studio and being like, oh, like, this can be a career. Like, because it never even registered as an option. It was just like, oh, it's just a hobby of mine to record all these local bands, you know,
Right.
with my cheap gear and whatnot. But
Right.
never even thought of it as a career till I got in a real studio.
Right. That's very similar to my story, bro, because, like, I remember getting really into music when, like, all of the reggaeton stuff started happening in early 2000s. And I had a friend that wanted to, well, he was already hip to, like, recording stuff at home. And so he was like, why don't you do a verse? And then so I did a verse on a song, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. But then, like, trying out the rapping and all of that was cool. But then when I started, like, recording, I was like, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And then I saved up for, like, a little Pro Tools rig. I remember bought a bunch of stuff during, like, Thanksgiving sales, like Black Friday stuff. And then I just started recording all the kids at my high school. And then even just those kids would tell other kids at other high schools, and then the shit just started popping. Every Saturday was popping at my my little home studio.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized, I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. But I do have my aunt in New York that she, I guess, like, knew an engineer, and she was like, yeah, you know, these engineers make like $400 an hour. I was like, oh, really? Bet I'm gonna do that. So I picked up pretty early on. I was like 14 when all of that was, like, happening around me, and so I knew from then. I was like, yep, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. But you know, you quickly realize that you don't make $400 an hour. They probably told her 40 an hour.
Yeah. Her English was a little off, you know?
Yeah.
Just kidding, Auntie.
Yeah, man. What is new for you now? What do your days look like between all the traveling and all of that? But
I mean, it's about the same. It's just I prefer being in the studio all the time. You know, maybe a few days off, but you know, I like being at the studio most of the time. And when I'm not, it's I usually, you know, I'll take some time just as a breather to kind of reset and recharge, you know, whatever you need to do for that. But then, you know, if I'm out the studio long enough out of a project, I'm digging through old sessions and seeing, you know, like, what could I do better on this? Or like, because there's just so much material we already have recorded that I have plenty to go through and be like, okay, and just listen through everything that I've done and try to figure out what I would do different on it. Or like, maybe even just practicing or looking up, like, the new features in Pro Tools and be like, okay, how do I incorporate this into my workflow?
Right. Yeah, because I feel like you've always had this, like, very, like, obsessive kind of thing towards this. And I mean, it's definitely something that I've always admired, because I'm like, this guy does not fucking stop.
Well,
you know?
I get, like, pissed at myself if I can't figure something out.
Oh, yeah?
Like, it'll drive me crazy. So it's like, I have to figure it out.
That's probably a great fucking quality to have. You know, I mean, it's probably frustrating in the moment, but, you know, like, once you get over that hump, I feel like that is how you have to be with most things in life, right? Yeah. It's just like, kind of just like obsess over that one thing that you're really trying to fucking figure out. And then, you know, like, in the moment it sucks.
Yeah, I can just never be that guy that'd be like, well, I guess that won't work, whatever. I'm like, no, I'll figure it out somehow.
Right. Yeah. Esco had to walk me off a ledge yesterday because was trying to stay here until I got that computer right.
Yeah.
You know, and not that I'm like that same way, but in a way, I'm like, no, let me try it.
You don't want to walk away from it.
Yeah, I'm like, ChatGPT is
you don't
telling
want
me.
to feel defeated.
Exactly.
That's what it is.
Exactly. I felt the fucking. I was like, bro, if you want to go home, just I'll see you later. He's like, no, it's not about that. It's like we have fucking Ken Oriole tomorrow. It's like,
yeah, we gotta be back at 9 for setup, dude.
But see, this is something else too, though. Like, kind of going back to like talking about tracking. It's the same thing. It's like he needed to be like, hey, you're too frustrated to look at it objectively now. Take a break. You know, because you're not looking. When you're that frustrated, you're not thinking objectively anymore. You know.
right.
So you did need to walk away and revisit it. You know.
Wow.
Is this? Are you talking about mainly? Because now there's like two worlds. Is this more on the rap recording side of things, or
No,
just in general?
Just in general, like, you know, you just start trying too hard, and then it's like you're not feeling it. Like with music, you're trying too hard. Or the same thing, it's like you're so frustrated, you're not thinking clear on like what is my next step in this, in your tech situation. You know, you're not thinking as clear. If you just walk away and just, you know, actually put some time into your thought instead of just being like, I'm just gonna try anything. Something's got to work.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Because then you walk in there and you're like, yeah, I popped it into my computer and it's not a bootable drive.
Is that what happened?
Yeah. I had went to the bathroom real quick. I come back and he's like, yeah, so it's not a bootable drive. That's your problem.
Loser.
He's like,
Loser.
no, but that's what I've been doing. We're gonna get down to this motherfucking problem. We're not walking away from it. Super cool, bro. I feel like that we're in a really cool space in time with this whole podcasting shit, bro. Because I love going online now and seeing like some of the people that I've like worked with in the past, and now they're like sharing secrets and, you know, talking about like processes, and I feel like it's a really cool space and time where like it's kind of like we've graduated from like those like stupid ass YouTube tutorials to like people just being real for a second and just like having these long conversations, and we're just chilling and we're just having fun, you know what I mean? But like, do you feel like for a while you weren't able to talk about, you know, the stuff that you work on and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, for a long time I couldn't on a lot of the stuff because it's like I won't talk about anything that hasn't been released because it's something that's maybe a little bit old school for me, but it's like I feel like the studio is a very private place for the artist. Yeah. And if it's not released, it's like there's no reason for me to talk about it. Yeah. So it's like I would have to do that doing interviews and stuff because people ask, I bet I can only talk about tracks that are released because everybody used to always want to know. It's like, what's Andre working on?
Yeah.
And like,
that's the
like
one.
Only talk about what's been released.
Yeah. I remember even one time going to see you years before the flute that we knew about the flute album, and I remember you going, I can't tell you what we're working on, and this is what makes you such a pro, and I this is what I love about you, bro. It's like you go, I can't tell you what, but it's like it's gonna blow your fucking mind, and it's like, you know, and he's just like, and I'm like, but what is it? You know, he's like, I can't tell you, and it's just like, fuck, that's so fucking cool, you know. And I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what keeps you in that seat, bro. That's what keeps you in you know, like for a person like Andre, or like an artist like Andre 3000, of the magnitude of his like artistry, to be like, that's my guy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's what gets you album of the year shit. You know, it's
yeah.
It's pro. It's like free throws and basketball games I talk about all the time, where it's like you're doing nothing different than everybody else in terms of the skills. Well, there are skills that are different, but the thing that gets you to the pro level is like 100% accuracy, never failing, every pass is perfect. Like, it's just that's the pro level shit. So yeah.
And staying in the gym, right? Staying in the gym, staying in the whole flow of it all. You see that, like, even if you have like maybe a couple days that you're not in the studio, well, there's always something to do. That's what that's what I always tell interns is I do not want to hear that there's nothing to do. Yeah,
No.
why are you sitting there? No, there's nothing to do. It's like, what? This is a studio. There is always something to do, And I think that even for me coming up, I was like, okay, I gotta find. I couldn't stand having somebody like a engineer or a producer or an artist walk in the lounge or something, and I'm just sitting there lounging. I couldn't.
Well.
I couldn't. So I only had a few moments of that, and I was like, okay, I always got to be doing something.
Yeah.
Even if it's just organizing the sauce packet drawers in the studio, and just like, when you pull that bitch out, that's just nicely organized.
Yeah,
It's a lifestyle.
You gotta have that hunger definitely starting out, but then I think as you get going too, you also do have to realize that it's like burnout's a real thing too. So you have to know where your limits are for that. Because I've definitely burned myself out, in different moments of my career for sure.
Yeah.
Where I've definitely had to step back and hit the reset, but then it's been different because it's like for a while there, I'll be like, oh my God, I haven't had a day off in like 2 months. I'm so burned out. And then going through like the whole year of COVID while being in New York, I was like, I'm never going to complain about being busy again.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was just sitting around like, man, I just want to be in the studio. But like, being in New York, we couldn't do anything really.
When did you go to New York?
Oh, I moved up there in late 2016, I think.
Damn, was it that
Was it?
early?
Oh, no, because I was up there for a couple months working, so I moved up there because it was right after New Year's, 2017.
Okay,
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, and you were there through the pandemic, and then you moved to LA, I believe?
No, I came back here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so in 21,
Okay.
came down here.
Word. And that was pretty intense for you, going through the COVID stuff up there?
Yeah, I mean, it was
The
it was
whole
much
shitty.
different than here, so it was like,
Yo, for real.
yeah. Like,
Over here, we were
everything
like
was
herd
shut down.
immunity. Fuck this.
It's Grand
We're
Theft Auto
gonna-
over here, baby.
Boy,
Yeah, it was
strip
shut
clubs.
down. It was shut down.
Yeah.
So
It looked like I Am Legend in New York from like perspective over here.
it was crazy. I remember walking around just having to go see it. I have photos somewhere where it's like just walking around like Times Square in the middle of the day, and it's like a ghost town.
Right.
Desolate.
Right. Yeah, man, I can't imagine what LA looks like right now, especially with the Grammys coming up. Man, like that shit is so devastating. But I like what I like what a lot of people in the music world are like really banding together. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, in a lot of worlds, right? In a lot of worlds, but I see a lot of support. So that's really cool. I can't imagine what the Grammys are gonna look like this year. I feel like something special has got to happen. And I see a lot of people pulling out from the Grammys, from going to the Grammys.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, yeah, I don't know if I want to go,
Yeah, it's gonna be different this year. I mean, they've already scaled it back to really just the pre-telecast and the telecast, and then the nominees reception. But like, it's usually a whole week of events, and they've already canceled all those for this year.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think it's it's gonna. I think the Grammy's gonna be like really heavily in like funds and support for the people that need it, that lost everything,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gonna be a big focus of the Grammys probably this year.
Yeah.
So,
As it should be.
yeah,
As it should be, because it's such a, I feel like there's so many awards and just big time stuff that happens right here in the beginning of the year, like the Super Bowl, like the Oscars,
Mhm.
and there's just those are good things that happen, that you can raise a lot of awareness. When you guys were working on New Blue Sun, did you guys feel like, okay, this is gonna get some nominations, or were y'all like more like, man, like I don't know how this is gonna be received.
I think all of us were kind of, cause we discussed it, but well, I guess maybe I'll just speak for just me on this. But yeah, I had no idea how it was going to be received. We were like, man, people might just be like, what the fuck, and hate it. Like I was like, I don't know how people are going to feel. But then as we're like going through the recording and the mixing, I was like, I didn't really know a lot about this style of music and genre before doing it. But then I started realizing, I was like, dude, this is good though. Like, I didn't think I would like it this much. And I was like, I think it's going to come across. And then, like, towards the end of it, I started feeling like, I feel like it's going to come across and people are going to get it. But even all the way to the release, like, I was like, this could go either way.
What do you think?
Definitely did not think and was super, super surprised that I get nominated for Album of the Year.
Album of the Year
Yeah.
is fucking nuts, bro.
Like, getting nominated for, like, Best Alternative Jazz, it's like, I could see that. Like, that wasn't as big of a surprise, but Album of the Year just blew my mind. So that just means, like, it touched a lot of people. And that's the ultimate goal with music. Like, music's emotional. So, like, it meant a lot to a lot of people.
And you probably can't talk about this, but I hope you can, but were the names of the songs always that long, or did he jump into that like later on and just...
No, that was like, he named the tracks like towards the end there. Like, so it's like, to me, they're like, even when we talk about them, we all have different names. Well, the working titles, what the sessions were called. And, like,
Yeah.
So we have totally different working titles for them.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. Yeah, that's part of the art that is so like beyond just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so like, man, like, yeah, like not only that's like him still telling you like, yo, I'm still that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, even though this is an instrumental album, like I'm gonna deliver this verse in like 2 phrases.
Yeah. And then also just to come right off the bat and be like, you know what? We're going to release almost 2-hour long album. Or is it? It's over? What did it end up at?
I can't remember. Yeah, but it feels for sure like a movie.
Yeah, I mean, it was originally... The original album sequence was 2.5 hours. And I believe we got down to about 190 or something.
Can we look that up real quick? Oh, you're already on it? I've been trying to get...
And I was like, how are people going to take this? We've got like 22-minute songs and...
It says 1 hour and 27.
Oh, we got down... Okay, so I think it was like
On Spotify.
2 originally, and we went down to like 120.
Is that because you guys cut out tracks or just slimmed down the tracks?
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both? Okay.
Just to make it all make sense as a singular project, I think. So
Yeah, it definitely feels like you are listening to a movie.
yes.
And that's something that I've been kind of advocating for, because I'm an albums type of guy. I'd like, if somebody releases an album and I want to check you out, or I'm already a fan or whatever, I'm listening to the whole thing, you know? And even if I have to like listen to like a third of the way and then pick back up or whatever, but I'm going to get through the whole thing. And so, you know, I have some friends that go, I just don't have time to sit through a whole album. And I'm like, the album is 45 minutes long.
Yeah.
Like, you think about it these days, is like a song is maximum 3 minutes. And if you have like 10 songs on there, that's 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But you have time to sit through a whole movie, and you might not even like it at the end of the whole shit.
Yeah, it's
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's just where your priorities are. Like, that's all that means. You have the time, you're just prioritizing it with something else. And that's fine, because not everybody has to be into everything, you know? But
You're right.
I feel like the same people that are like, oh, I don't have time to finish the whole album, are also the same people that will, like, binge watch half a season of a TV show in one sitting.
Exactly.
Because that's their priority. That's their
priority.
preferred form of entertainment, you know?
Sure. Yeah. I think for me is more so about the, like, you know, when it starts getting judgmental, you know, and I'm not throwing shots at Esco. I know you might be feeling like I'm throwing shots at you, but I'm not.
Nah,
It's not towards
we know
you.
what it is, bro. It's all right. show
I'm
Ken,
really
show
not.
Ken who you really are.
I'm really
bro.
not. I'm really talking about Brian. Brian Gill. Yeah, what's up, motherfucker? Since you don't listen to the podcast anyway.
He's not gonna make it this far into the thing.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah. He got his priorities fucked up, is what it is.
You mean having a baby?
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
okay.
Yeah. No, yeah. He got it. No, but yeah, man. I think that was a really cool, like, just moment for, I think even for rap. I'll say it that way, like, to show everybody that might have had success in hip hop, that you don't, and you can make it to the greatest heights in hip hop and still do other stuff. You know what I mean? Other than like going and being an actor or something, you know, or whatever. Like, it's like there's like another level now. And I think that's why you get like album of the year.
Well, I think it's like the honesty shows. So it's like, this is honestly where he is, and it's a true version of what he wants to be right now, you know, and it's like, and that shows.
Exactly. Damn, do you have any
Yeah.
do you have any things?
Yeah, I think the beauty with Andre is that I would say it like this. He's showing us, right, everybody else who's creative as well, that being yourself is how you make an impact, right? Which is like being who you truly, truly, truly are, and that's how you connect with people. Because I think a lot of times you do get caught in that machine you mentioned earlier, where there's like a factory way of making music.
Yeah.
And you get caught in that hamster wheel, and you're just churning them out and churning them out and churning them out. But in this case, you see somebody remind us what it's like to experience and make music that you can also experience. Because an hour and 27 is really long, actually, for an album. That's really long compared to what's out there. So it's really cool. I'm that's super dope, man, that you get to be a part of that. I think other engineers like us, it's like a dream, low key. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know if I'll ever get that chance. At this point, now I'm all podcasting and shit now.
I think you can. I think you will. You know, it can still happen.
Probably.
Yeah.
Eh.
I don't know
if I want to.
Right. That's the other thing. Like, for me, like, the shit is like spiritual, you know, and you're working with an artist, and you guys are kind of like in it together, right? And you guys are like discovering together and all of that. And I think that, like, when your spirit just isn't in that space anymore, then you have to move on, you know?
Yeah.
Of like, I call it a spiritual thing because it's like, kind of like what you said about the studio being a church, you know? And so, you know, it really is a space where we're like sharing ideas, whether you're troubleshooting on the recording end, or you are being creative and expressing yourself, and we're all expressing ourselves in whatever ways in the studio. And so if your heart just isn't there to like serve that,
That's right.
that purpose, get out.
It all seems interconnected because Ken, you also mentioned about like on your downtime, you're like, let me learn this new plugin, or like you're going through new features on things, which means you're constantly growing as well.
Yeah.
The same way that Andre or whoever is the artist, they're constantly growing because they're making music always, so they're always growing, right? Or just creating. So you're growing, they're growing, we're all growing. So then you're gonna stay together. But at some point, there's engineers like me in my case, where like now I'm like a studio owner career now or whatever. It seems like I'm still an engineer, but really I'm a studio owner now or whatever. You could say it that way. But if I quit growing, then I'm not growing with the artists there's a lot of artists that I work with, but I'm not growing with them anymore. So that's why I think where I go, I don't know if I'm going to get that chance, just because I've deviated.
The love for that set of art isn't there anymore. You know, like I can say I fell out of love with recording, bro. Like I was like, yeah, I don't want to record no more.
So everybody says that. And I already know why. Because and this is why I haven't. But yeah, most of my friends that are in hip hop or the pop world do that. Everybody wants to eventually just become a mix engineer because you're burned out in recording. And I was like, because you're not really recording. It's like you're tired of recording vocals to a 2-track.
Yes.
I love recording because I get to record a lot of cool instruments that I have to figure out how to make sound properly and like discover, play with mic placements and like so I love it. I love recording.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So.
For sure. And I guess like I can say for me, I did always want to figure out the mixing side of things.
Yeah.
Always wanted to like, and I think that interning with Phil is what really did it for me. Because before that, I only wanted to, in my mind, in my young engineer mind, I just wanted to be able to record vocals really, really in a really effective way. Or I really wanted to direct. I wanted to work with artists and direct them. And so I even called it, I even told Phil one time that I want to be a vocal director. And he was like, vocal producer. I was like, oh, okay, yeah,
I was going to
that.
say it's a producer, yeah.
Yeah. So that's initially what I wanted to like jump into, but seeing Phil do what he was doing, I was like, oh, this is really fucking cool. Yeah. So this was before I even got to assist any sessions, like real, like, you know, or be around any recording sessions. So I kind of like had that as like an appetizer, and I was like, okay, I want to figure this out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, see, I think like, and it's about your age and down. That look at that way, it's like you calling it like directing vocals instead of producing. Traditionally, that is very much what a producer does. But because of this modern age of music where it's like beat production is a thing and they're called producers.
Yeah.
But if you really think about it, they're actually drum composers.
Yeah, don't get me started on that, bro. Like, well, I've defined it as beat makers.
There's beat makers and there's producers, and there's ones that are both. You know?
Yeah.
But not all of them are.
Exactly. And that's really cool the way you just married or how you made sense of those two words. Is like a producer is really a director. Yeah. You know? But there's just the same way that I messed up that term way back when. I was in my mind, I was like, I want to be a vocal director. Yeah. But what I meant was, well, what we know it as is a vocal producer. Mm-hmm. But it's really the same thing, right? And so, but really, a producer is a director. You know, you're directing talent in so many ways, and that's definitely something that I've been on as well, because I'm like, you know, I consider myself a producer, and there's a few people that have like given me some pushback, like, no, you're not a producer, and I'm like, who are you to tell me? I am a producer. Yeah. You know what I mean? I may not play instruments and I may not know a lot about music, but I can produce the fuck out of a song. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I can get it all the way there. And from the production to the vocal production to the just knowing what's hot, even just arrangement, you know, in of itself is producing. Don't let me fucking add a snare to your shit. I produced it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's a big thing. Like, I remember having, like, conversations with, like younger producers will be in a room with a more established, you know, producer and, like, start complaining about, man, why is he getting all these points on the record? Like, I created the whole beat. You didn't do anything. But then I talk to him and be like, well, would you have created that beat without him influencing you to create in that style? And they're like, no. And I was like, yeah, he produced you.
There you go. Damn. That's nasty. Yeah. And yeah, that's the way that I've been defining it lately is like most guys are beat makers, but if I want to be a little bit more formal and give them show a little bit more respect, I'll call you a beat composer. You know? And And that's the best you're gonna get because there's only a handful of producers that are really actually fucking producing.
Yeah. So, like, you know, you got your guys like Tricky that are just like, he is all the way a beat maker and executive producer.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, all the way. So,
Yeah, yeah. I was just about to say something and I forgot. Damn,
Good point, bro. That was really good.
damn! I just completely
Yeah, you're
fucking
dope. Yeah, you're great.
missed it.
You're
Thanks
great.
everybody for hanging in there with me.
You got the chair, bro. bring a.
Make another edit thing right there.
Remember that video we saw of the Chick-fil-A guy getting shot? It's a
Oh,
skit,
yeah.
It's a skit. The guy didn't say he doesn't say my pleasure, and he's like, I said it. No, I said it. And this like two guys with like shades on come in, pull him into a car, just fucking. Just fucking off him just because he didn't say my pleasure, and then just bring a whole new guy in. And he's like, "Hell, well, thank you for your order." Da da da. He's like, "My pleasure." And they're like, "What happened to the other guy?" He's like, "Nah, there was no other guy. Just pull up to the window. Just pull up to the window.
What other guy?
What other guy? No. So, but yeah, that's what happened, bro.
Yeah, I was about to be like, where's this going? Where's this?
Yeah. since like the fuck. We heard you said, cut this whole segment out. Fuck this segment.
No, we're not cutting nothing out. All right, this is it. You guys are in the room with us. Fuck this shit.
Right.
And we're leaving that other thing that Ken said to cut out.
What other thing?
No, but this right. This is the time, man. This is what I like about this whole thing, and that's like a driving force for us is like really just candidly sharing like all of the stuff that we've been through, because imagine we sit here for like another 2 hours or whatever it's been, right? And it's like, you know, the gems, we haven't even touched the fucking, you know, we're just like tip of the iceberg here, you know. So
Ken, where'd you get your like philosophy from? You know what I'm saying? Like, because you have so much philosophy that you gave me game really early on without trying to help me. You helped me, but
I think it's just a lot of early mentors, and then just building from what they have and kind of my own version of that. So like, you know, and it's a lot of guys that I didn't even directly work with in the studio, but they would be like, just like career advice and stuff. Like TK was huge for advice from me. Rick Shepard. So it's like this whole generation of engineers from before me in Atlanta. And then I worked with really the guys that worked under them is who I kind of came up under. So like that next generation of like Johnny Oresco and Ralph, but Sam Thomas. But
yeah.
I still used to pick TK and Rick Shepard's brains all the time.
Right.
So
really
yeah.
cool.
And those are guys that like are more than engineers, because they had a vision for like entrepreneurship, right?
yeah.
Rick, well, were you at Atlanta Pro Audio when Rick had it, or was that before?
He got it after I left. I had already left.
After.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you knew Rick as just an engineer.
I knew Rick as Dallas's engineer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he would probably just used to shop at Atlanta Pro Audio all the time.
Yep.
Go and pick stuff up.
Yeah.
How was that era like, bro? Like, that must have been a really cool fucking era, being at Atlanta Pro
It was
Audio.
such a good place to start out. I forget who said it, but it's one of the best ways. But it was like the barbershop of Pro Audio in Atlanta.
That's
'Cause
hard.
Everybody came in. Engineers would come in to pick up drives and then vent about their sessions, and like so it
Yeah.
was like the barbershop of Pro Audio.
That's hard. That's
But
really
like
dope.
it was just like, and it was just such a great opportunity for me that early in my career to network with so many people, because generally you start out in one camp, and you know that camp and the people that camp work with, but I had connections to all the camps in Atlanta, which was like
yeah.
super helpful.
Yeah. I think that's similar to how like Drew Castro talks about it, where he's like, yeah, I just got to meet so many people there.
Yeah, because it's like,
were
you
y'all
know,
working at the same time?
No, I started after he already left.
Oh,
by the
okay.
time I went in, but But yeah, it's just great because usually it's like, okay, you go work with Dallas, you're gonna meet the producers he works with, things like that. But they're not working with like the same guys that Tricky and Dream are working with. So you
Right.
only really get introduced to that circle.
Right.
And being there, it's like just having an in to all the circles.
Right. Right. And then did that land you any gigs?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, I left there to go freelance, and as soon as I did that, that's when Tricky was like, "Okay, I need to lock you down."
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's sick. That's sick. I just saw Dallas, and I wasn't following him on Instagram. It just kind of popped up, but I saw Dallas Austin like not like promoting a thing, but not really. He was just using it. Have you seen this? Where like he's just like calls up a number and then or something like that, and then he's like, "Hey, what's up, man?" And there's like a little pause, and he's like, "Hey, what's up?" And like, "Yeah, I'm just working on this beat, and I just kind of wanted a new take on it, just like kind of like a Jay-Z, kind of like just a hip hop joint." And the guy goes, "Okay, yeah, I think I could work on something like that." And then what do you think about this? And then it just starts playing through his speakers. And then he goes, "No, I was thinking a little bit more like boom bap, like old school hip hop." And then it goes, and then it kind of just like does this fucking like I don't know what to even call it. Like it just kind of like gradually morphs
Yeah,
into like a new beat. Have you seen this shit?
I haven't seen it.
This shit is crazy, bro. So he's like onto something. He's like, "Yeah, this is what I'm on." So back to this whole AI shit, bro. I think this whole AI shit is gonna be crazy, crazy. Now it's just like probably like how we used to just be able to, or how now we're able to make 5 beats in no time. Now it's gonna be like 50 beats in no time.
Yeah.
And then just kind of like picking the right. I don't know. Do you think you want to jump into any of the AI stuff?
I mean, I'm not against it in certain ways, but I don't think I'm ready to jump into it. In the
Okay.
same way, like, I decided, like, I'm not jumping into Atmos. And that seems to be pretty faded at this point now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's just, I think it's going to be some great tools, but sometimes it's like, the time that it takes to create something is part of that process. Like, I think when you start creating things too fast, like, you start eliminating the emotion from it. So there's no emotional quality to it now. And I think it's going to show. It's going to be good for certain things, but there's like music is supposed to have an emotional connection. And like when you start losing that, like, what do you have?
Yeah.
So we'll see. Like, I think it'll be great for jingles and stuff, but like for like truly good music, it can assist, but it's not going to be the primary form of creating that.
Exactly. Yeah, maybe it just ends up being a way to like go through ideas really quickly, and just kind of like if you have an idea in your head and you just kind of want to have it tangible.
Yeah.
For like real quick, because now I can imagine you having like a long drive, like say the future of this shit, right? You have a long drive, say your drive to the studio is like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, and you're like, you know what, damn, I hear this kind of beat, hey man, can you map this out for me? And then you kind of beatbox a thing, and then you kind of do like a little melody, and then it just starts kind of mapping it out for you. And then by the time you get to the studio, you already have it like...
It's an assist.
Like kind of done, but that's what you said, right? It's like, it'll be kind of like an assistant of a thing.
Because you're going to have to figure out like how to add the emotion back into that in a certain way too,
And that's where a producer comes in, right? Because it's like, you could just leave it at that, but then... You need somebody, like you need Quentin Tarantino to be like, I dig the way you're doing this line, but I need you to deliver it this way.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the fucking difference.
And the thing is, like, like I think the younger generation will always figure out how to use it as an instrument in itself. In the same way as like, there's a whole generation ago, everybody was like, oh man, if you got to use auto-tune, you're not a real singer. But it became its own type of instrument and its own thing. They found a creative way to use it, not just as like for tuning vocals, but as auto-tune is its own effect, its own instrument at this point, So
Right.
like people are going to find ways to use these AI tools as a creative instrument in their own way.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. That era of like, figuring out how to use this autotune thing was really cool too.
Yeah.
But the thing that I am pretty excited about it. I ain't gonna lie. I'm pretty excited about like how to use this like this AI thing, but I don't think that is gonna be as much of a fad as what like Atmos was, because I definitely have a beef with that for sure. It's like I turned it off for a long time. Like, and if y'all don't know, you have to turn that shit off in your Apple Music.
Yeah.
And if you're not aware, you're listening to just like a song that Jason Joshua mixed and Colin mastered, but you're not hearing that master.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like, man, I think it's cool for like the immersive kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like the stuff that like some of the greatest have worked on, and now you're just placing objects around a thing, it's like that's not what it was intended to.
Yeah, there's some cool
to
things
sound like.
with it, but I think like Apple tried to push it in try to push it in a way that it's the new standard way of listening to music. And it's just like, it's not, because it's, there's a reason that like every studio that was built in the 70s has 2 empty soffits in the back of the control room. Because everybody thought quad was it when quad came out. This is just our generation of quad.
Wow.
Which was Dolby is also quad, right?
I'm not positive who started quad, but it's like everybody thought like, okay, now we got 4 speakers, quad's going to be it. And at any 70s studio, there's 2 empty soffits in the back of the room from where they had the quad set up.
Right. Wow. And I think even this whole Atmos thing has had at least one other like instance in time where like they tried to like push it.
Well, there was a whole
and it
other
just didn't
phase, but they didn't do it with music so much. But like high school for me, pretty much when everything switched from VHS to DVD, everybody bought that 5.1 surround system for their house.
Right.
Nobody has that anymore now.
No.
They just soundbar it.
Yeah.
But everybody had some little 5.1 like receiver
Right.
setup when DVDs came out.
Right.
But that didn't really push surround in music, But that was just, everybody had the little home theater receiver.
Somebody else was telling me, I think it was Giandre that was telling me that there was like another phase of like Atmos where they tried to push for music to be in Atmos and it just didn't go.
Yeah.
And I think that now the only thing that's saving it is the immersive AR stuff that's happening.
And it's cool for that stuff, but
Yeah.
just standard music listening, I didn't ever think it was going to take over that.
Yeah, I think it's cool for like what you said, like jingles and like music made for that.
Yeah.
Now, if like Pharrell tomorrow starts producing in Atmos, that's what's gonna fuck the shit up. That's what's gonna be like
Yeah.
produced. You know how it's like mastered for iTunes or whatever?
Yeah.
It's like produced for Atmos. What? That's
Then
gonna
you're
be.
going to have to listen to it in a specific speaker setup.
I feel
Or
like
with your AirPods or AirPod
Right.
Max or like, and not everybody's going to switch their whole listening system. So it's just
even
not-
if Pharrell was to do that, he's still gonna have to make a stereo version for
Yeah.
the people in the back, or
Definitely.
whatever.
Yeah.
Damn, we're in the back. Fuck. Yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like Bad Bunny's gonna do it. Bad Bunny's gonna fucking do a Atmos production and gonna fucking fuck everybody up.
Well,
Don't say no, Esco. You're gonna do this again?
Bad
see,
Bunny's anti-AI.
Only I can't think of another
No, I said
time where they were
Atmos.
trying to do Atmos for music, but I do remember like around same time as DVD, there was a competition between super audio CDs and DVD audio, and everybody was starting to, because they were like, I think 96K, and they're like, oh, people are going to get this instead of the CDs, but then MP3s and the iPod came out, and that killed that.
So instead of going more hi-fi,
Yeah.
we just went super lo-fi.
Which is like convenience, so convenience kills.
Yes, it will, and that's why I mean Atmos isn't convenient.
Atmos is not convenient. Yeah, exactly.
It's terrible.
Yeah. You got anything else?
Yeah, you were talking about human emotion, into the music. And I was a high school teacher for 2 years. I was like an art teacher. I saw the kids. I was so close to the youth. This is 2000. This is pandemic time, essentially. But the kids were all from different backgrounds, different races. But so they all got along through music, right? And in that same era, that one dog face dude was on TikTok, and he was skate on a skateboard, riding down with like a cranberry juice or whatever it was, and he was listening to Fleetwood Mac, and like Fleetwood Mac was now discovered by all the TikTok kids, right? Which all the youngins and the kids like in my school, and but that music is so real that these kids, remember, they're after 2001, right? So they've never felt real music before. All they know is the digital era, auto tune. Like everything's perfect per se, right? Digital, and man, the TikTok world was like, holy shit, who's Fleetwood? Did they just drop? Like, who's this new artist? And because the TikTok kids have no idea. So in this post like modern era of music, I do believe that like the initiative of Andre on that project. But anybody that's going to be creating organically, like Bad Bunny on this new project, which for anybody that heard my podcast, I was talking mad shit about Bad Bunny. But now that the project is out, I'm like, dude, he went in there and made real music. Real musicians spent a lot of time together playing real salsa. Like Mac, the thing that you enjoy about recording, same dude. Like when we get to throw congas in his booth and like the cajon in there, it's like, oh my god, thank God I get to do something for real. That's the best shit. And so so I think the human emotion experience, I think there's a chance because of how like doo-doo it's been. Like there's a chance that real music can make it if the artists that can to have the impact, if they do it.
I already think it's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely happening. So it's like if you listen to like pop got too clean and pop and almost killed itself. So when it went very like singer songwriter, which was because it got like, you get to like that like Katy Perry era. It's just so programmed and quantized and like, so then it's like, people got kind of over it. So then it's like your next big artist after that, or what, like, Taylor Swift that's writing more songs than just, she has her pop hits from that era too, but doing more singer-songwriter, your Ed Sheeran's, so it went back to like songwriting instead of just like
that's
pure
sick.
pop production.
I hadn't thought about that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ed Sheeran's like the #1 tour.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess then there's big pop people now, but it's like, look at who's blowing up now. What's her name? Chappelle Roan. Like, there's so much emotion in that music too,
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
I don't even know if I pronounced it right. So, is it
I
Chappelle
can't.
Roan?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know either, actually.
Yeah, man. I think we are starting to dive back into a little bit more of the organic sounds and
and I think that's why it's like
dubstep.
Like that Jon Batiste album did so well, kind of coming out of nowhere, because like they could feel the feel in it, the groove, like it's grooving instead of just being locked to a grid.
Damn. I think you just gave away the cheat code to everybody.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm gonna scrap my album and and let me just start over. No, for real. And that's where I think that's where the next, like most successful stuff is gonna land, is gonna be in this real like organic kind of warm, even more warm, like even just the way that I mix. Like I know people want me to mix like more like with this like taking out all of the lows and just it being like just super bright, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, I want this shit to sound really warm. So I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
So I'm right on time, motherfuckers.
We're going back to tape.
Yes, sir.
F it.
Yeah.
Nah, and music's gonna go in its cycles, and we'll cycle back to
Yeah.
like some new version of bubblegum pop at some point, But it's
Right.
like I just feel like I kind of like where it's moving right now.
Same.
No, for sure.
I can dig. In your heydays of Atlanta, because I don't want you to I don't want anybody to feel left out. But did you have a favorite studio? Dude, I love going there. Because you're probably still excited. It's on the newer side.
Yeah. And it would be Silent Sound.
Silent Sound.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible. Yeah, that's where I saw you for the first time. Actually, I was an intern there in 2015.
It was just the level of like just the way TK ran it.
Yeah.
Like it's like he always like the staff was always really good. The gear was always in good shape. Speakers were always in tune, and it was just his care to details
Incredible.
came through. So it used to be my favorite spot to work in here.
Incredible. Yeah. I remember him holding some record of like the most successful. Anybody that became an engineer came out of Silent Sound. Kind of a thing. So he has a standing record.
Nice.
I'm in the run too. So shout out to TK.
Nice.
Yeah.
go.
No, for sure. When you was going over there, did you meet TK when he was an engineer, or did he already have?
He was
Silent?
doing some. He was really running the studio by the time I met him. I mean, he was still doing some sessions too.
Okay.
When I first met him, and that would have been like my early Atlanta Pro Audio days.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. I think that's where we're falling in right now is with running Society Sound, and it's like, man, you just get so sucked into running the studio and the success of that baby, doing its thing, that it's like we have to remember to get back to the music, and is kind of like what you've been talking about, and it's fucking aggravating.
Right. Right. Yeah, because speaker breaks and you're like, great.
Right.
I gotta send
It's your problem.
Yeah. You gotta send it out, and now you gotta shell out an extra $1,000, and you're like, why?
Yeah.
Why? And it's my fault though that speakers break. So my bad. Sorry, boss.
Not all the time. It's these other janky ass motherfuckers, goddamn, playing loud ass music in here.
The other hooligans.
We just got actually Sid hooked us up with a sub back here, like a PA sub.
Nice.
So we have a fucking.
It's like an 18-inch sub back there.
I thought it was 15.
I don't remember.
Oh, I think 15, right?
15?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, my bad.
Yeah, I don't think an 18 would fit
Oh,
back
there's
there.
no way 18. My bad. You're right. It is a 15. Yeah.
We'd have to make a cut in there. But it sounds great in here. Sounds great in here with the barefoots. Sounds fucking nasty. Yeah. What is a like a speaker of your choice? What do you gravitate towards?
Right now, I've been purposely booking rooms with the ATC 20s or the 25s, like the ATC 25s. I've just gotten really used to mixing on those.
Oh, you spoiled.
Yeah.
You spoiled in a motherfucker. What?
Fair.
Yeah. I think that's what I want to get in the other room. I want to keep the Amphions though.
Yeah.
God damn it. The Amphions are really cool.
I think for the
Yeah.
next room,
But they're very sensitive. You can't beat them up as much as like say like an ATCs or Barefoots.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very sensitive, so you got to treat them nicely.
What about we can go to nerd talk a little bit. What about vocal mic of choice? Just you're like, dude, just give me that.
I mean, that's just totally going to be dependent on the singer's voice and style and
Sure.
because even within the same artist I work on, depending on what type of things we're doing vocally, I might use a completely different mic.
Oh, okay, cool, yeah.
Like I'll often set up 3 vocal mics for Andre, and it depends what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like which
Oh,
one
nice.
we use.
Yeah. Yeah, super cool. Yeah, we have this Latin singer. He sings. It's bachata music, so it's more live. We have a lot of fun with that, and we actually give him this mic, this beta, and but we've been sending this through the cloud lifter, just give it that extra and then into just you go through the Avalon, So you got that kind of studio quality, but he's handling it with his hands. It's got that really good feel.
Sometimes that's what it is, though. It's
Yeah.
like the performance has to be important. So if it makes them perform a certain way, it's worth it. Like there's no wrong or right way to do it. Like I've worked with Solange. She sings in a 57, dancing around the control room.
Wow.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And and it feels amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a go. See, philosophy, man. You got to do it.
Oh. Because if it loosens up the room and they get a better performance, like that, then we don't want to call it like a compromise in sound. Just the difference in sound is worth it if it's creating an environment for the best performance.
Man.
It's cool when you're working with an artist or a performer that has the patience to go through that step of it all.
Yeah.
Because when they're just like, I'm ready to go right now, and it's just like, okay, this is all we got,
Yeah.
And even if there's, for me, it was a lot of people in the room, and recording in the control room and whatever, and it's just like not the ideal shit, but it creates the vibe. So fuck it.
The philosophy still stands, right? Like 'cause if that's how to get that performance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's what it is then.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Exactly. Like one of my favorite moments of that, and I didn't record this, but it's on the Future and Thug Super Slimy album, and the intro is happening, so it's not no drums or bass, and so but you hear like this, and then Thug goes, yeah, they're just crushing up the ice in the background, that's just the ice crushing or whatever. And go listen to it. I think it's called 3, the name of the song, and it's just so fucking hard.
You remember the thing that the guy I sent from Nicaragua the other day, like
No, I didn't see that.
the Sarpi joint or whatever it
Oh,
was?
okay, you're right.
Yeah, so these guys in Nicaragua they don't have a studio, they don't even have equipment. Actually, they don't have anything but a phone, so they're just recording into BandLab, and they're recording this janky guitar. And it's all of the vibe, and it's off, not even on a click, right? So it's just sliding over. Point is, at the end of the take, you hear a rooster. You hear
that's right.
Like at the end of the just clucking at the end of the shit. It's just part of the vibe, dude. It just makes them.
If it works, like leave it. But then also now you have all these tools with like, RX and stuff. Like, if it's not the right vibe, you can remove it pretty well now too.
Right.
So,
No, but the point still stands that if that's the crack, it's like all of that, whatever is happening in the background or whatever, that's the grit, That's
well, there was like going back to on the New Blue Sun, the last track on the album, where I said you can hear the buttons clicking.
Yeah.
At one point during my mix passes, I cleaned it out. Like immediately, Andre hit me up like that next day. Listening, he was like, "Did you take those clicks out?" And I was like, yeah, I thought they were just like buttons. He was like, no, we got to put those back in.
Wow.
Oh.
See? Yeah. It immediately changed the vibe, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's like technically...
I thought I was cleaning it up, but...
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ruined the vibe. You ruined the vibe.
Yeah. Man, I think this has been really cool, bro. I think I can't wait to do more of these and have you go off and create some other fucking album of the year, goddamn piece of art, and then have you back in here, bro. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
All right, cool. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Society Sound Popcast.